Do you dream of having a huge heap of homemade compost that you can use to nourish your garden, but you have no idea where to start? Do you ever wonder what composting actually does and why it matters?
Today, Mr. Sheffield and I are going to show you a step-by-step process on how to turn your kitchen and garden waste into free plant gold. Whether you're looking to give your veggie patch some extra nutrients or help your flower beds bloom, composting is the secret ingredient to healthy and happy plants.
So you're probably wondering why you need to even make your own compost. I mean, it's just as easy to go to the shop and buy it yourself, right? Well, once you get started, it will save you a ton of money, dramatically reduce your garden and kitchen waste, bring life to your soil, and improve water retention. And all for free. Sounds too good to be true, right? I mean, how does it do all that?
Home composting is a natural process where kitchen and garden waste decomposes into nutrient-rich soil. Creepy crawlies, fungi and bacteria play a vital role in the composting process, breaking down the organic matter in the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide, water and heat.
The resulting compost can be used to enrich the soil in your garden, mulch beds, and added to the soil of your pots and planters and even houseplants.
Now, I wanted the bins to be hidden as much as possible, so I thought this would be the perfect spot. There's a hedge here and the house is behind us, so it'll be hidden behind this hedge. But your favourite plant expert thought differently.
Plant expert, I like that. So yeah, this spot here is probably the sunniest and warmest spot in the garden because the sun rises over there, goes all the way around there and then sets behind the camera. So it's going to be too hot. The compost pile is going to dry out too much. But you do want it to retain some heat, so a semi-shaded area would be good rather than full shaded. So I've talked Mrs. Sheffield round and we've agreed to put the compost pile at the back of the garden here. Because like I say, the sun will rise over there, it'll come all the way around, and that means it'll get protected from this quite tall and large hedge behind us. And we've also got a nice big tree there protecting from the sun. So it will get morning sun, but the harshest afternoon sun won't be hitting the compost.
You'll want to position your bin on a flat, well-drained area like soil or grass. That'll help all the creepy crawlies get into the compost. But if you've only got concrete, don't worry, it'll work just as well. You just need to put a layer of soil down first.
It is a great idea to put your compost pile close to the action. So we've got our raised beds over there and we've got our lawn in front of us. So it's going to be dead easy for us to put our grass clippings and our garden waste from the raised bed straight into our compost pile, nice and easy. Our house and our kitchen is a bit of a trek, so it's going to be a bit tricky to put our kitchen waste into the compost, but I'm sure we'll live.
There's loads of different ways you can compost. Lots of people choose to use a heap or a trench style compost, but we've decided to go with a classic wooden bin because it's faster and more efficient way of composting.
You can buy one or you can make your own out of pallets. It doesn't really matter. The important thing to speed up the breakdown process is that it has good airflow, water drainage, and to retain heat and moisture levels, you'll want one with a lid.
We decided to buy our bin because our talents do not lie in the DIY area. In that lovely montage, you would have seen how easy it was to build one of these wooden 3-bay style bins. The reason we decided to go for a 3-bay one is because each bin helps manage the 3 stages of the composting process.
That's right, you start with the left bin, you fill up with all your materials that you need. When it's halfway through, you rotate it into the second one. And then when it's finished, you put it into that one. That's where you store your finished compost. In an ideal world, you want each of the bins to be 1 metre cubed, which is 3 feet. That way it retains heat and you get quicker results. But our gold standard is 1.2 metres, which is 4 feet. So, what can go in the compost pile? Well, basically, we want our compost to have the right balance of oxygen, carbon dioxide, heat and water, so that all those insects, fungi and bacteria have a place to thrive.
To build that happy home, you'll want a mix of brown and green materials. Green materials are things that are rich in nitrogen, so things like grass clippings, dead heads from flowers, and even weeds. Brown materials are things that are rich in carbon, and that can be things like twigs, dead leaves, paper and even cardboard.
Another fantastic thing to add to your compost pile is kitchen scraps. So we've got a bucket here of kitchen scraps that we've been collecting for the last few weeks in preparation for this video. And we've got all sorts in here. We have got eggshells, apple cores, we've got coffee grounds, we've got vegetable peelings, salads, tea bags, Yorkshire tea of course. By the way, coffee grounds is a green, it's not a brown. That's because it's high in nitrogen.
What you do want to avoid is anything like meat, any cooked foods, and processed foods, oils or dairy. Things like that, they're going to attract vermin. It's also going to be really smelly and it's going to hinder the process. Ideally, you want to aim for 50-50 browns and greens matter. That'll be the perfect mix, but don't worry about too much.
Yeah, you'll know if you've got too many browns in your mix because it will be quite dry and it won't heat up and nothing really will be happening. So you just need to add a few more greens. Conversely, if you've got too many greens, then it'll probably be too wet, a bit smelly, a bit slimy. So you just need to add more browns to balance it out.
To turn or not to turn? That is the question. Turning compost is a quite hot and quite contested topic. We've decided to go rogue and go for the turn one method, but some people seem to think you should turn it once a month or even as often as once a week.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the ideal thing to be doing because it's quite a lot of work to turn your compost pile. So we're going to do just the one turn method. So it is a good idea to turn your compost at least once because it will incorporate air into it and it will speed up the composting process as well. So with the 3 bays that we've got here, it's quite simple. Instead of trying to turn it in this bay and making a right old mess, once we've filled it up and it started composting, we're going to turn it into the second bay. It's a natural way of processing it, and then it will finish composting in there, and then we'll put the finished compost in bay 3. When it comes to filling your compost, it's all about good drainage. So we need to start with a layer of twigs, branches, and what?
Sticks.
3 ways to say the same thing.
They're all different things.
So we need to start with a good layer of twigs and branches, and that'll create good airflow and good drainage at the bottom, which is really important. So Mr. Sheffield, we've got a bag there of twigs and branches, haven't we?
Let's get going.
Yes.
So we've got our first layer of twigs and sticks, and now we're going to add a few more browns. So what browns are we going to start with, Mr. Sheffield?
I reckon we could start with some paper and cardboard. This is cardboard that we've been collecting for a good few months now in preparation for this video. Well, a good few weeks, I should say. So when you are using card and paper, you want to make sure that it's free of any sellotape or any shiny stickers, and then break it up relatively small. You don't want plastic going into your compost pile, basically. Okay.
Mr. Sheffield's just making sure it's a nice even layer. So we've got to get it all in all the corners, and then we can start building our layers from here. So what we're really wanting to do is build like a perfect lasagna of compost. So next up, we've got a lovely layer of greens.
Yep, so this is a mix of weeds that we've been pulling up recently. I trimmed the hedge yesterday, so there's some of that going on. When you are adding greens and browns, quite a good idea to have it as small as possible, really. That just gets the composting process going nice and quickly. And a good little hack to do that is to pile up your greens on the grass or something and then run your lawnmower over it, and I'll chop it up into small pieces.
Next up, we've got an absolute ton of leaves.
Seem
more?
like a good layer. Well, can
So
spread it out a bit.
Yeah, that looks good. So what's next? Cheese?
Cheese?
It's a lasagna.
Oh, you caught me off guard there. That was good.
Yeah. So, more greens.
More greens.
Kitchen waste?
Yeah, got a bucket of kitchen waste here. So again, we've been collecting this for the last couple of weeks. It's predominantly greens, but there will be some browns. Don't worry about mixing browns and greens when you collect it. It's all going on the same pile. And what I'm doing, I'm adding it more to the centre of the pile rather than around the edges, and that just makes sure that if any critters or any vermin do want to have a little nibble on a carrot or something, they won't be able to get to it easily. So that's the kitchen scraps. I've also got houseplant clippings that I use, that I collect from my other channel, Chef Made Plants. Check that out. Don't worry too much about filling your compost bin all in one go. It does take a while. For most gardens, it'll probably take a good few weeks or maybe even a couple of months. So when you're adding grass clippings, you just want to be a bit careful. You don't add too much all in one go, and that you do kind of fluff it up a little bit. Because it's really fine, they tend to clump together a bit, and there's a risk of it going a bit sweaty and going a bit anaerobic. Anaerobic just means that it's lacking air, and that's what grass clippings tends to do. So you don't want to add too much. This pile is quite good actually, because there was loads of leaves all over our lawn, and when I mowed the dead leaves as well as the grass. So there's already some browns in here, and in fact, when I just came to collect this for this video, because I've stored it in a Dalek style composter, it was already steaming, so the composting was already going.
You can smell it. You can smell that
smells
earthy,
nice and fresh.
Yeah, that earthy smell that we're looking for.
Whoops. What's next? Browns?
Browns.
Should be alright.
So more browns.
Get rid of this cardboard that we've been collecting.
Yep.
This video isn't sponsored by Amazon. I'm just adding some greens on top of the grass just to mix it up a bit, just so there isn't a thick layer of like grass clippings on there. So the more varied stuff that you can add to your compost pile, the better. So if you've got loads of different things, different weeds, different vegetables, whatever, just gonna give the compost a good nutrient profile, lots of different nutrients, rather than just sticking to all the same thing. Doesn't look too bad, does it, Mrs. Sheffield?
Oh, it looks lovely. We've done a really good job.
I think my spot was the best spot after all, wasn't it?
Oh, well, we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Now, the hardest bit, the waiting. Composting can take anywhere from a few months up to a year, depending on how hot it gets.
So you can get one of these. This is a compost thermometer. It's a handy tool to have. You stick it in the middle, It tells you the temperature of what's going on inside. Anything up to 60, 65 degrees is good. That means the compost is nice and hot and all the beneficial microbes are hard at work, but you don't want it to go over 70 degrees. That probably means you maybe got too many greens, and that's when the beneficial microbes start to die off, anything over 70 degrees.
You'll know it's ready when you've got a rich, dark, crumbly soil and it smells sweet and earthy like a woodland.
We'll keep you updated on how our compost pile is doing in future garden tour videos. To watch our first tour of this house in our garden and our future plans, then make sure you watch the video up here and we'll see you there.